the synthetic vitamin C, which is a left-handed molecule, the natural occurring vitamin C, which comes from real foods, did not and will not been scientifically proven to cure scurvy. Now, why is that? Because the body knows its left hand from its right, period. And because when you use bioflavonoids or you use ascorbic acid, you are not getting the nutrients that what vitamin C, we call vitamin C, can actually do for these arterial vessels. Guys, guess what? It is time for the Dr. Chapa Wellness Show. I am so glad to be tuned in with you guys. I want you guys to know that every week that I get to come to you, every time they allow me to come behind this mic, this camera, I want you to know that I have a message for you. On the Dr. Chapa Wellness Show, we are geared toward giving you alternatives to drugs and surgery, teach you lifestyle practice, things that you can implement today that will make your life better. And today, I'm excited to share some great news. For those of you who have a salty palate, we're going to be talking salt. We're going to be talking how you can use salt to boost your energy. We're going to be talking about salt to improve your sleep. We're going to be talking about salt in order to maximize vitality, pathways of detoxification, and some of the myths about, is salt really good for you, or is salt bad for you? Just yesterday, I was in clinic and I had one of our team members, one of our patients, discussing the topic of salt and whether or not salt is actually a good thing or a bad thing. How many times today have you heard that salt is going to cause your blood pressure to be high? How often are we going to doctors and they're putting us on a salt-free diet? Why? Because you have blood pressure issues. But yet, let's turn the tables. Before you even make it to the hospital, if you're going to the hospital in an emergency situation, what is hanging off your side bed or your gurney? A bag of saline, aka salt. Did you know that they are putting salt in your body in emergency systems if you go in for being dehydrated, or if you're lightheaded, or once you're admitted into the processes of the medical system, they are 24/7. They got a little bit of salt, saline solution being pumped into your veins. Why is that? Because salt is not the devil. The salt is not going to hurt you and kill you. In fact, salt is going to serve you. It's going to save you. Salt can be your best friend. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit about which salts are good salts and why we like certain salts over others. And I'm going to be sharing some things that I've seen in my practice to help me help patients, whether or not they're on a healthy journey or they come in a really diseased state, diagnostic state, how salt is one of my first lines of defense. So I'm really excited to share this with you today because I think it's going to make your lives better. It's definitely going to make life taste better because we won't be afraid to consume that for which was God's gift to us. Did you know that salt, where that saying comes from, I hope that man is worth his salt. Why is that a saying? Because the word salary comes from the root word salt. And in the Roman days, they would guard a salt mine over a ruby mine or gold mine or silver mine more with kill power than they would a actual silver or precious metals mine that was found. Why is that? Because salt is life. Salt is a fascinating substance. When we look at Lot in the Bible and his wife turns back and looks at Gomorrah is burning and they were instructed to not look back because that would be disobedient and that disobedient act would have a consequence. And poof, old girl turns into a pillar of what? Come on, I can hear it through the cameras. Salt. And interesting, when you are cremated, you are ash and salt on the other side of it. And salt is a very fascinating thing. It comes in as this little beautiful crystal into our body, and then when processed into our cells, it electrifies our cells. It makes our trillions of cells more communicative. Don't you love going to a place and you get kind of the energy, the buzz? I remember being at a half marathon and the energy and the buzz was there. Well, I'm assuming that a lot of people carb loaded the night before. I'm assuming a lot of people were jacked up on, sugars and Gatorades and sport drinks and salts that morning of the race. And man, when you take off, the gun shoots off and you're off to the races. And salt is one of those driving factors that allows the muscles to breathe and to function well, to make sure hydration is happening inside the cell and outside the cell appropriately. So when we look at salt and we go back into the Roman days and we think, why would these guys be guarding salt? One of the torture treatments that they would use in the olden days was to deprive a man of salt. And salt would cause a deprivation of salt would cause a person to have a mental break. And so people would not want this as a form of torture because it's only a matter of time before the system begins to fail, before the system begins to deteriorate, before the synaptic activity in the brain becomes dull and you're not sharp. The colors of the world around you, the senses are all pushed off and dulled out. And this is a sign of degeneration. Inside of 90 days, you could put a man into a state of psychosis or insanity even. This is a very crazy type of procedure that they would do. So that's why the medical bag of saline is on your bedside or your gurney if you're en route to the emergency medical establishment. And so too often we have to kind of check and balance why in one breath are we being told that salt is bad, and on the other is salt being used for medicine and emergency medical care? Well, that's interesting. There was a study of 5,000 in the Lancet Journal, I think it's the British Journal of Internal Medicine, I believe, and it was talking about how salt saves lives. Well, it was like a 500,000 person study, so this wasn't like a small study. And interesting that when published, the American Heart Association was going to rob this journal of funding, and they're a major contributor, as you can imagine. And why? Because they're not interested in letting you see the facts, letting you see the truth that salt is your friend, not your enemy. And we have been sold a bill of goods. And one of the things that I want to bring to you today is confidence in salt being a resource for you to live better, be better, and stay better. How? One bite at a time. Remember, I told you on this end of today's podcast, you're going to feel not only better, you're going to be more confident because the world's going to taste better. And salt's going to be the root of that. So why would the American Heart Association be pulling the rug on this salt study to the Lancet? Well, that's because they are a major contributor in funding, but they are being funded by pharmaceutical companies that want to sell you high blood pressure medications. And so they want to sell us this idea that salt is bad and that salt will raise your blood pressure, and salt is getting a bad rap. Now, I will say, we'll go ahead and go into it, some salts are better than others for certain functions. For example, if you're in a cave salt mine, that is where I would go if I had an autoimmunity or some sort of cancer, or I was trying to do earthing, grounding, deep cellular energetic repair. You can get into a salt mine and you could create, there is actually now, they are building companies that have salt rooms where you can go in for therapy and breathe in salts. You can stand on salts, lay in salts, lick salt. You can be completely surrounded by, thousands of pounds of salt because of its energetic power. And that's how I would use a cave salt. And when it comes to wellness salts, I use more sea salts, the kinds of salts that are 2,500 meters below the sea, extracted up out of the waters, and that they're sun-dried in such a way that allows not just the sodium chloride crystals, but even the micro minerals, the electrolyte balancing minerals, to come up into the salt crystals in time. And it is a time thing. And many companies do this well, and then there's many companies, a lot of many companies, that do this terribly, and they just sell you a salt of sodium chloride crystal that can deplete your body. So this might be a good time to kind of share this concept of how does this work. So many of us are familiar with vitamin C. So vitamin C, otherwise known as ascorbic acid, when you look on the back of your label, it may say bioflavonoids, and that's cool. But I want you to recognize that there's 3 different types of vitamin C. And so when you look at vitamin C in its 3 different types, you see in one hand, it's a synthetic manufactured compound that literally a scientist is manufacturing from coal tar derivatives out of the street. So like the same tar that they fill the street potholes with or cracks in the ground with is also being used as a resource to make ascorbic acid. Now, interestingly, it's a left-handed molecule, and it is stated that they believe that make this stuff that the body doesn't know its left hand from its right, which we know neurologically that's just ludicrous. But yet they try to sell us this synthetic, manufactured, man-made product that will literally cause your that will deplete you of nutrients because it is indeed a synthetic product. Okay, it's not real, and there's no life in it. So when you're taking in 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day because you're sick, understand you may be also depleting your body of other nutrients. Well, in the middle, we have this concept, so that's synthetic concept called natural. Okay, so natural substances are these substances that hang on a tree, but yet not, because that would be the third whole food substances. Where we get vitamin C, we think citrus, right? That's a common place, and we extract out the natural form of ascorbic acid, package it up, and sell this to patients, people, consumers that believe in ascorbic acid or vitamin C as a means of therapy when they're sick. If we go back to ocean days, people would be called limeys that were sailors because they would suck on the lime in order to extract out the juice because of the vitamin C power in curing what's called scurvy, a blood disorder, where the little lining of your arterial system begins to deplete, weather, and get thin, and it leaks. That is essentially what scurvy is. Well, that's not a good thing to have when you're out on a boat, when you need your mind sharp, when you need your body to be able to handle the rough terrain of pulling ropes, yanking sails, swabbing the deck, whatever it is that they were doing in those days. So they would suck on limes to get that vitamin C. But here's what's interesting. The synthetic vitamin C, which is a left-handed molecule, the natural occurring vitamin C, which comes from real foods, did not and will not been scientifically proven to cure scurvy. Now, why is that? Because the body knows its left hand from its right, period. And because when you use bioflavonoids or you use ascorbic acid, you are not getting the nutrients that what vitamin C, we call vitamin C, can actually do for these arterial vessels or your immune system, or in this case, your adrenal glands. And so the whole food is where the answer is. And what's inside? You have ascorbic acid, of course, as a lining on the outside. You have bioflavonoids. That's something else man has figured out finally how to extract out. And it also has tyrosinase, some enzymes to help activate parts of the master plant, the whole food, and it has vitamins, here it is, P, K, and J. Now, K you've heard of with respect to clotting factors. The P factor and the F factor, maybe you haven't. And there's even cofactors and other type of nutrients that we can't even classify yet because we're not smart enough, but we see it, but we don't know what it does. But here's what we know. When you take synthetic food, like if you chlorinate our salt, going back to our salt conversation, you essentially adulterate it, process it, chemically alter it to a point where you burn off what is naturally the benefit of, and then you take in this rudimentary fraction of it, it depletes your body of all those other vitamin P, K, and J, those bioflavonoids, those cofactors. So in essence, naturally and or synthetically, we can deplete the body, creating a deficiency in what God intended to serve you, heal you, and restore you. Isn't that interesting? And the same concept with salt. If we take salt and we chemically alter it into, what we know as the little umbrella girl walking around selling us this salt as she pours that on the ground, that kind of salt can be inflammatory. That kind of salt can be disruptive. Okay, so you want to make sure you get a high quality, good quality salt. And where would this salt come from? Well, this salt, we have found that if you have Pakistani salt, and you do need to go Google this. It's not always on the label. Sometimes you can chat GPT this. It's not always on the label. If it's salt from Poland and if it's salt from Germany, these are less quality manufacturing facilities that are claiming to be good quality salts for you, but they're not. They're not serving you well in any way. They're adulterated. They're chemically altered. They will cause your body to be depleted of the nutrients that God intended salt in a whole food state to give you and to serve you. And so that's why when I look for salts, I like to lean towards sea salts that I know where they come from. So we use a salt at our office from a company called Premier Research Labs, right? I've seen and looked into the Redmond salt, and there are some good quality salts. But when they take the time to explain their story, and then you validate their story, and you see and listen to people get passionate about their salt, and when it's researched well and you know how they're taking care of it to bring it to fruition, bring it to a bottle, bring it to your house so that you know that what you're taking in your system is going to give you life, then you can have a ton of salt. You could put salt on every meal. In our family, it's 2 shakes and pray. And for our puppies, it's 1 shake and pray. And we give them plenty of salt because we want to make sure that electrically their body is able to function well. What can salt do for your body? Well, number one, it makes the mind more alert. So if you take salt, I do 1/4 of a teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of salt every morning, first thing in the morning after I wake up. So this is some practical application of salt and allowing salt to be a benefit. This is a biohack. When you wake up in the morning and you drink, 6, 8, 12, 16 ounces of water, which you should be doing some version of that every morning. Some people wake up and go, there's no way I can drink water. It makes my stomach upset, da-da-da. That's the person that had a bad detox response last night, and you're using that water to flush that toxic trash out because you didn't do a good job of packaging it up and putting it into a bag so that your body can poop it out well the next morning. Okay, so the salts help make that detoxification process happen well in the night. So if you wake up in the morning and you do 6, 8, 12, some version of 16 ounces of water as a first line of waking up your system, supercharging the body and priming the digestive system, add 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of our wellness salt, and you will get an electric jolt. It'll make you feel really good. The first 6, 7, 8 times I did this back in the day, I would get this little band of pressure around my head and red ears. Well, what do you think I thought about that whenever I was a rookie and didn't understand the power of salt? I thought, oh, that must be my blood pressure going up. Bad salt, bad salt. No, that was my body acclimating to salt. One of the products that we use in the office is called sesame seed oil. And when a person has a low T cell count and I start dosing them high on sesame seed oil and they chew it up, that hits their system, their nervous system, it stimulates their bone marrow to produce more white blood cells. They will feel that same band of pressure, tightness in their sinuses. That is not a bad thing. That is the body acclimating to white blood cells, running around cleaning up infection. Yes, please sign me up. That's easy, and it should be easy. Salt is easy. So you do 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of salt first thing in the morning, and then guess what you find? You find your body is more naturally primed for the next step, which is going to be what? Breakfast, breaking the fast. And that's where that next big, meal comes in. We start our day right in order to end our day right. Now, some of you guys know that I'm okay with intermittent fasting, and I'm okay if you move the numbers around. I always push people in the end, though, towards making breakfast their priority meal and not, dinner their priority meal. We should always eat like a king or a queen for breakfast. We should eat like a prince or a princess for lunch, and we should eat like a pauper for dinner, or a beggar, or go hungry. And so you should be thinking about how your day unfolds. Now, I know when I'm starting people, I don't start them off that way because I'm just looking to get them into the discipline of saying no to food and turning off their I need to, I want to, I desire to have what I have and get what I want. You have to say no to your flesh. You have to make some sacrifices in order to get your body to metabolically activate in a way that is going to generate energy for well-being. Salt detoxes, like I was saying. So if you do salt in the morning, salt in the evening, 2 shakes and pray on all your food, and you don't have to put it in salt water. You can just put it straight in. I have patients come in all the time and they're dehydrated. And why are they dehydrated? Because they're not getting enough minerals in their day. They're not getting electrolytes from salts because we have sold America on being a salt-free culture. And so I want people to grasp the concept and the idea that salt is their friend, assuming, again, they're not from where? Germany, Poland, or Pakistan. Those are, I'm going to just call it out, poor quality salt manufacturing facilities. And oftentimes you can Google your salt, even though it's pink. You can Google your salt, even though it says it's from the Himalayas. And you can say, where's this manufactured? And a couple Google clicks later, and you got an answer. And you will be blown away that most people are consuming poor quality salts that absolutely cause their body to degenerate and cause their body to be in a state of what we call accelerated aging. Have you heard of your adrenal glands? Your adrenal glands are one of your stress management systems. When I look at a blood panel and I see sodium and potassium, I'm looking at first salt isolate by itself. Is it doing what is it where it needs to be? So the range is like 135 to 145 for medicine, okay? I've seen people at 138, 132, 129, and I ask this simple question. Would you want to drive around on car tires that are 50% full of air and risk the car not performing at the level that you want it to? And the answer is obvious. You'd be like, no, Dr. Chapa, of course I wouldn't want to do that. I want my air pressure correct. That's why they do a free air check at a lot of these places. So we want to help you see that when you get your tire pressure right, your cellular health right, guess what's going to happen? When you're hydrated well and your salt electrolyte balance is well, you're going to bring electrolytes and salts into the body in such a way that you're going to see the cells be electrically active. Well, your adrenal glands at 135 or 138 or 139, where a lot of these people are coming in because they're on salt-free diets, essentially, and or they're on a poor salt diet, which means they're eating foods with the gunk, contaminated, cheap salts in there that deplete your body of those micronutrients, electrolyte balance, stabilizers, and they keep the body from performing at its best. They actually become birds in the saddle, so to speak. The adrenal glands will not perform well unless the salt is between 141 and 143. And so we want to get that number up. So when you look at sodium on your blood panel and it says 139, you're low. Your basketball's got low air pressure. Your tire's got low air pressure, and your cells are not hydrated at a rate that will keep your body in a space where you can handle stress. So do you deal with anxiety? Do you have mental brain fog? Do you find that you walk in rooms and wonder, I'm a space cadet. Why did I come in this place this morning? I can't remember names, numbers, and words. You can't formulate a sentence for whatever reason. This is an indication, you lose your train of thought. This is an indication that your salt levels in your blood are low and your body is stressed and you're not managing the stresses that are coming at you right, left, and Sunday. I know for certain that many of you are suffering and looking for answers. And could it be as simple as balance your electrolytes? Recognizing that synthetic, natural, whole food's where to go. And then if you take what God intended as whole food and you extrapolate a natural piece of it, that you might actually deplete your body of its natural matrix? Yes, this is how it works. You have to get the real deal. And when you get salts, not only can you handle stress better, your adrenal glands manage adrenaline, they manage cortisol, they manage belly fat, they manage mental clarity, manage your blood pressure. What? Salt is actually benefiting your blood pressure by strengthening your adrenal glands, making your adrenal system, stress management system, more able to help you through your day, because you don't know what day today is going to throw at you. You don't know that today might be a challenging, stressful, shocking day. So guess what? Be alert, be astute. Because what happens is you go through the day, all these stresses bind up, and the more stresses we bind up, the less our body is able to detoxify. And when the body detoxifies or doesn't detoxify well, guess what happens? Now you accumulate toxins. Now you're holding up those sodium crystals, those chloride crystals, those micronutrients that should be serving you. Because for every toxin that you have in your body, whether it's aluminum from the deodorant you're putting on your skin, or the makeup and the SPFs that are in all your makeup, the chemicals that make women gorgeous, and the hair dyes that make their hair radiant, all these chemicals that they're taking in are now using up your mineral status. And then without salt, your body can't even recognize that chemical over there is a problem. And now you're in your 70s and 80s and you're developing dementia, or worse, Alzheimer's, or some other memory challenging issue. And I think it's happening even earlier and earlier and earlier, because we're seeing more and more, places pop up that are doing synthetic interventions of lips and cheeks and eyebrows and hair, of course, and different surgeries, breast implants, booty implants, calf implants. I mean, we are a vain culture. Why? Why can't we accept that the body does degenerate? And I'm guilty of this too. I'm vain too. I work out. I try to eat better. I want to look nice. I want to look good. I want to be radiant. But I want to be all those things for the right reasons, so that I have the energy and vitality and opportunity to have longevity for my family, so that I can see them grow up and have families of their own, so that I can go out and be a blessing to my community, so that I can be a stronger man of God and point people to Jesus Christ each and every day that I'm alive and in practice. I want to be a representative of good health, so that I can be a light, salt and light to the world around me. Because I know from a kingdom perspective, a Christ perspective, that for me, if I'm broken, if I got headaches, if my body's high blood pressure is my worry, if my body's fatigued and burned out, if I can't sleep well at night, I know it's because I got an imbalance somewhere. But oftentimes that imbalance then leads to me being distracted on how I interact with the world around me. And maybe you found yourself here too once. You are the Debbie Downer. You are the negative Nilly. This is something that we want to address and help you figure out, that if you're emotionally unstable, if your mind is behind, if you don't feel your best, guess what? We can change that. And it could be as simple as just one little start and adding salt to the mix. We want to teach you how to live better, be better, stay better, because food is medicine. Food is fuel. Food is regenerative. Food allows our body to perform well and for us then to radiate an energy that is attractive to the world around us through our speech, through our look, through our excitement and passion for life. And I call that joy, Jesus on you, to begin to radiate through. And I love this idea of me taking control of my health so that I can better take care of other people and their health. And that's how it should be for you. You got to make the decision. It's your life. It's your health. It's your choice. So make a good decision today. Eat your breakfast today. 2 shakes and pray today. That means at least you're praying 3 times a day, maybe 4 times a day. That's probably more than some of you have prayed in a month. And so I get excited about this concept because it isn't hard to live your best and be your best. And this is a simple concept. And salt, we just talked about the adrenal piece. We just talked about the detoxification piece. We could talk about the sleep and mental clarity piece. But know this, that salt balances so many basic functions that you shouldn't even have to worry about, that you need to start trusting that salt is your friend, not your enemy. Just make sure that your quality of salt is in place and that you do research on the salt you're buying, and you're not just picking up the stuff that looks pink because that's what your wife told you to pick up. That you're not just grabbing that salt. As a matter of fact, it's funny, my daughter, I said, honey, I need you to get some ghee with Himalayan salt, because there's this really good ghee with Himalayan salt, and it's like a $12 jar of amazing. and I love this stuff. And whenever she brought it home, she brought home the right ghee, but she also brought home a pink salt that said Himalayan salt on it. And I go, "What'd you bring the salt for?" She says, "Your text says." And I said, "Oh, that's funny. I didn't teach you. I didn't tell you specifically what to do." And we look up the salt, and it says pink salt. It says Himalayan salt. It looks good on the outside. Even the label, it all looks fairly clean. I mean, as an average consumer, I would have been duped. But I went ahead and did my Google search. I went ahead and took a picture of it, put it online, looked it up, did 2 or 3 clicks later, Pakistani salt. Same thing happened to a lady just yesterday. She sends me an email this morning. I can't believe it. The stuff's from Pakistan. What's going on? And no offense to you Pakistani salt mine people. I'm sorry you got crappy salt, but we just got to teach people better to get higher quality ingredients. We don't want coal tar derivatives for vitamin C. We don't want garbage salts that are robbing the body of God's natural processes that salt was supposed to do in my body to maximize efficiency and function. And so I want to encourage you, if you've got stress, you need to make sure your salt levels are balanced. If you haven't had a blood panel done, at Dr. Chapa Wellness, you can go and check out what we do in order to maximize the health potential. So on the Dr. Chapa Wellness Show, each and every week, I'm just bringing a new little nugget of how I live my life in front of you so that you can be the best version of you possible and live your best life as well. Your family wants you to be your best. I want you to be your best, and I want to help you. So visit us at drchapawellness.com. Be a part of our Dr. Chapa Wellness Show. Share this message with your friends, family, and loved ones, and know that I'm here for you. I'm excited for you. I'm rooting for you, and we'll see you guys on the next show.